Hey everyone, from outside Bengals Training Camp, Chris Renkel, Richard Skinner here breaking down day 3 of training camp at Skinny. 3 days of Jamar Chase watching, but he wasn't alone. Joe Burrow had the day off, Sam Hubbard had the day off, Trey Hendrickson had the day off for day 2. We've talked a lot about Jamar. I think there's almost no question now this is a hold-in, right?
Yeah, no question about it. I think that was it from the get-go. Today, actually, he went one step further. You know, he's been wearing a jersey. Today, he didn't even bother to put the jersey on. So, you know, we've talked about it. I'm just trying to figure out what the end game here is. I mean, I don't imagine it's just 3 days, right? It's going to be longer. The question is how long, and then what gets accomplished out of that. That, to me, is where this goes, and I don't know where this goes. You know, it'll be interesting the next time we talk to Zach Taylor, because the plan is now kind of being washed away of what we're all watching and kind of have known from practice number 1.
Trey Hendrickson for the second straight day. Now, Trey's a veteran. He's going to have days off. He's a high-value guy. They don't want to wear him out before they get to the season. But 2 days in a row for a guy who made a very public trade demand, who has made it no secret he wants a new contract. Are we starting to see maybe, is Trey following Jamar's footsteps? Is this another day off? Do we have to wait and see?
No, I think we'll wait and see, but you make an interesting point. I mean, it could be trending in that direction for the reason you're saying, and he sees Jamar Chase doing this and says, oh, well, maybe then I'll try this route as well. The back-to-back days, if he's healthy, that's the one thing. We did not talk to Zach Taylor yesterday about Trey Hendrickson. It was mostly about Jamar Chase and the contract. We didn't think that it was anything other than yesterday was a normal day off for Trey, because today I think was a normal day off for Sam Hubbard. He's coming off surgery, practiced 2 days, give him the third of 3 days off. That all makes sense. So yesterday you thought, okay, maybe it's just Trey's day to get the veteran day, but then back-to-back days, if it's not injury-related, well then why is he not practicing at least one of those 2 days?
So the guys that were out there, because we're not going to talk about the guys that aren't, we've talked about all that. The guys that were out there, I thought another strong day today for Andre Yosevich had some really big catches. T. Higgins had a really nice catch in traffic. DJ Turner had some nice pass breakups. I think he's trending up for that second cornerback spot. Who really impressed you today? Yeah,
I think the guys you mentioned. I mean, DJ Turner had a couple of nice pass breakups. He had one in the corner of the end zone off of a scramble drill. I can't remember if it was 11 on 11 or 7 on 7, neither here nor there. But it was a jump ball to T. Higgins. As we've seen, T. Higgins wins a lot of jump balls, right? And Turner went up and high-pointed it with him to knock it away. His teammates were all excited for him. Now, T decided he didn't think much of that play and just wanted to quiet everybody down a little bit. But for the most part, he needs this. You know, he's in a battle with Dax Hill for that outside corner spot opposite Cam Taylor-Britt. He's getting a lot of opportunities early in camp because Cam Taylor-Britt is out because he had his tonsils removed. Probably back next week, I would assume. But he's getting opportunity. When you get opportunity, you got to make the most of it, make some plays, and he's done just that. And the other guy, Andre Yosevich, it's 3 straight days of impressive performances from him. He had a catch kind of out of, we were kind of blocked off, but you could see the ball go up. It was a deep corner route, and all of a sudden you just see his arms go out right by the sideline, tap dance, and he was in, and then all of a sudden next thing I see is the number 80. I'm like, not him again, right? It's just, sometimes you see these catches, you're like, oh, it can't be him again, but it was him again, and very, very impressive. I'll tell you a guy who I really like is Cole Burgess. He's probably not going to make it. He's an undrafted rookie free agent from SUNY Purchase, who was a star in Division III. He had a great catch in a 7-on-7 where a ball was thrown to the back pylon low, and I thought when it was thrown, it was almost in my line of sight. I thought, no way he can catch that. He dove and made a terrific catch to keep it in bounds. So that was pretty interesting as well. The other thing today, Chris, we saw the new kickoff rule. We saw the return to the kickoff rule.
That's right. That's going to be really interesting. Darren Simmons talked last Monday when we had the luncheon ad nauseum about he's been adjusting. It's been fun for him to try and do these kind of things. Who do you think is going to be the kickoff returner, though? Because all of a sudden, this becomes a much bigger play, and you can flip the field on this.
No question. And they had a lot of guys doing it today. I'm going to try to do these off the top of my head. Travion Williams and Chase Brown were kind of the first group that did it. We saw Charlie Jones back there. We saw the aforementioned Cole Burgess back there. Kwame Lassiter was back there. Chris Evans was back there. Trent Earl was back there, I believe. So, I mean, you had a bunch of guys who were trying for that role. I talked to Darren on the last day of mini camp and did a big story in between. And we were talking, I said, so what are you looking for back there? And he said, I don't know. I don't know if this is like a guy that needs to be like a running back and find a hole and go. I don't know if this needs to be a one shift and go punt return type guy. I don't know what it is. He's been leaning towards more of a punt return guy because he truly believes if they're going to kick it in the field of play, you're going to see more squib kicks because hang time doesn't matter anymore. Right. Now today we saw they were just kicking it for a return. They were doing mostly as a return angle to it today. I'll be interested the next time they do this, if they do it from the kick coverage aspect of it, and what to do if the ball rolls and for the returners to do that. But, you know, I've pictured it in my mind. I've seen it actually in action in another league. had Darren explain all the things to me, but then you see it, and it's just so wild to see
Very
how
different.
close those guys are. The return guys going to, or the return guys blocking, and the coverage team coming down to kick. They're 5 yards apart. It's the craziest thing to look at.
I think one thing's for sure, whoever's going to return, the Alex Erickson days of just hold on to the ball, those are gone. This guy's got to have some speed and a little bit of shiftiness to him.
Correct.
And they have a couple guys who can do that.
No question.
That'll be interesting to see how they do that. All right, Sunday they come back out. We're going into a second week. Tuesday they put the pads on. They start hitting for real. We'll say training camp actually starts then.
That's right.
This has been kind of a warm-up for training camp. Give me a guy who you think needs to have a big week next week, and you're going to keep an eye on.
I'm looking forward to see what Amarius Mims looks like in pads going against another padded player. I mean, you get a lot of wrestling around in these things. I want to see, does he drive block? How does he do in real pass pro? They're doing some of that stuff because they are doing some 11-on-11s without the pads on. He's one for me. And then obviously I want to see what the corners, especially the DJ Turners, the Dax Hills, what they can do when they can now get their hands on wide receivers. And for those wide receivers as well. Now, Andre Yoshbash has played through that because he's in his second year, but I've seen plenty of training camp stars, when they get free releases off the line of scrimmage, they're really good. But when somebody finally reroutes you, puts your hands on, and you can't get off of that, you don't become quite as good. And so I want to see all of that, and that's the great part about finally getting some pads on.
For me, it's got to be Dax Hill. I mentioned it yesterday on the podcast. I see a lot of deep balls against Dax. That's a guy in and out of position. He hasn't played corner in a long time. I want to see what he looks like when he has pads on. Can he be that second cornerback? Time will tell. First week in the books.
Yes.
Hopefully it gets cooler from here, right?
It's not going to. I can tell you that.
He's Richard Skinner. I'm Chris Renkel, breaking down Bengals training camp every day on the Skinny Podcast.